Now, two new statues of Madiba will be unveiled at the Nelson Mandela Museum in Qunu today. According to the Presidency, the two monuments will serve as some kind of tribute to Mandela for the 67 years that he dedicated to fight apartheid and racism. The statues have, however, caused a bit of an uproar, with the public saying the government needs to do more for citizens instead of making more Madiba statues. Let's get you some insights in just a moment with a heritage expert in a context where, of course, a lot of discussion is taking place around whether or not statues are the most appropriate action from government in the face of so much degradation and need in society. Let's bring in our guest who joins us for this discussion, Advocate Sonwabile Mancotywa, who joins us via our video link this morning. Great to have you on the program, sir. Thanks very much indeed for making time. You know, it's interesting to track the discussion around these statues because, on the one hand, symbols and symbolism matters. On the other, the context in which those symbols are actually embedded equally matters. So, a statue of Madiba in 2003, unsurprisingly, lands different when you think of a statue of Madiba in 2023.
Okay, thanks so much, and happy Mandela Day. I think we need to also look at what statues are meant for. Statues or monuments are actually symbols whose duty is to remind us about the past and then as well as change power relations in society. So history itself is not by history, by virtue of it being history, but it is the study of change and continuity that shapes identity and consciousness. Now, the issue of statues and monuments, one of the challenges is that we have copied exactly what Europe was doing in terms of monumentalization of our heritage, and not included the organic aspects of our heritage and spirituality. And I remember, in Europe, I mean, statues are that existing there for different purposes, but we actually Africans. That's the first point. The second point is the choreography of monuments. I mean, we have seen monuments being defaced. Go to not only those that we've mentioned in East London, that Duncan Village was a statue was defaced, and when I was doing the Heritage Council, we had to commission a study. The study being that actually showed that when government construct these monuments, there's certainly no consultation with communities, so that communities are actually involved in say what kind of symbol do we need. Today, there's what is called living memorials, and so that people it doesn't just end up in a statue. But also this, how do you choreograph this, the body? What kind of symbolism itself? I mean, Sol Plaatje, for instance, as you know that in Kimberley, we once went there. There was a debate between the family and the community whether the statue should be a feast, because he was the Secretary General of the African National Congress. The first, as Secretary General, but also he was also an intellectual. Whether you should actually memorialize him in terms of, I mean, the signage should be, what form of signage? Him sitting down with a pen, as a symbolic gesture that he was an intellectual, or actually raised his fist because he was a freedom fighter and so forth.
Sure, yeah. There's certainly a lot to read into the form that these statues take, and it comes as no surprise because some people see it, quite frankly, as a form of art. But I suppose part of the concerns being raised this time around, when it comes specifically to the statues of the former president, the icon of the world, as he's described in many instances, is that, one, it's just two more in a context where there are several already that exist. So what really is, being done here? But also, there's concerns that with the erection of these different statues, there is the perception that government, quite frankly, is doing something in Madiba's legacy, when, frankly, whatever that action is, doesn't result in the change of the material conditions of the people who have to see those statues every day, if you know what I mean.
I think I'll partly agree with that, sentiment, because we have to change the policy paradigm in our heritage. As I said earlier on, that there are many ways of honoring a hero more than a monument or a statue. It's one of those. Yes, there could be an argument that says that there's over, saturation of in the public space. It could actually hold water. But then I think we need to change the narrative. For instance, there's issue of living memorial, where people don't have water, which is a basic need, and then Madiba stools for such values. That's why the issue on now today, people are talking about, most especially in Africa, living in memorials, something that is going to have a meaning to community. I've seen, for instance, there's Qunu village, the Qunu center, which is fine. But we've got to rethink beyond just having a symbol. How does it benefit the community? Go to a place called Kantolo, where Oliver Tambo was born, and then you're saying, what values do these people, many of these icons, Sobukwe and so forth, change the paradigm. Say that, how do we, not only, symbolize this, but in a way commercialize it as well. Commercialized can actually mean something as if you're actually selling now, because you have a situation where we have an unequal society, that these leaders, in fact, were amongst the most unequal societies in the world, with a Gini coefficient of 0.7%. How does heritage play its role in that? Through, for instance, I will say, look at Paris, where actually the most visited country for for many years, it has won that. Not only because it is actually having any primary, primary economy like mining and so forth, was the tourism. So therefore, in these rural areas, there's a lot that could be played if you were to actually say that find equity partners to run, so that there's something to communities in as much as you educate, because there are two things here. How do you memorialize icons in terms of, monuments or what? But also the public good or what they did. How do you reinstill the values that shaped Madiba, Sobukwe, Steve Biko, and so forth, so that is to create a kind of a new society that you envision. But above all as well, look at Table Mountain and you compare it to Robben Island. Table Mountain is actually, it's contributing a lot to the GDP. Why? Because they've been, they've been able to say, how do you commercialize, Table Mountain, whilst also upholding, or can I say, ensuring that you are promoting or keeping certain, heritage, intrinsic value, or, in it. So Robben Island could do that.
Sure.
And we could do that, broadly,
I suppose the question then that we need to mull over, because the statues are going to be unveiled today, is what government can do in an attempt, hopefully, to listen to the likes of yourselves to ensure that, at the very least, the memorialization that is taking place is not just a box-ticking exercise, something done just for the cameras. This ribbon-cutting imagery that comes up. But it's something a bit more meaningful, something that communities, especially where these statues are being erected, can own as their own.
Very important. Two things I'm saying. If the issue of memorialization of icons, it has got to be thrown to the communities. The question is, how do you memorialize these icons in a manner that ensures that the values that they stood for are actually enhanced? But two, even the kind of memorization, we don't have to build a statue,
Absolutely. All right. Sonwabile Mancotywa, thanks very much indeed for helping us think through these different aspects of marking this Madiba Day. We'll certainly see whether or not government responds to at least the calls and the cries from citizens watching in some instances with disapproval in the lead up to the erecting of these two statues. Once again, sir, thanks very much indeed for your time.